as a political analyst, one thing that I would like people to take away is that we need to go down on the polarization, especially the 4 years we have ahead. And I mean, Trump obviously has an impact on the whole world. And there's a tendency that polarization rises everywhere, and even in Portugal. But let's always remember that we need to take the temperature down. And I think Portuguese are good at that. My name is Gonçalo Telles, and I'm the founder of Grid Communication and Political Risk. I'm also political analyst and TV commentator on SIC Notícias. I am addicted to tennis and Portuguese food, and I'm also a very fanatic Sporting fan and the parent of two very energetic and wise boys, and trying to be a daily normal superhero dad.
Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life, and I'm really happy and excited to be joined today by Gonçalo Telles. Gonçalo, boa tarde. Thank you for being on the podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Everything great.
Yes, we've had a very interesting week in the political sense over on the other side of the Atlantic in America, which we're going to get into. But I'm sure it's been a busy week for you.
Yes, indeed it has. I'm a political analyst and commentator, but I'm more on national politics, not so much on international. But of course, I followed the elections with great interest and also with some commentary.
For sure. Well, I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Gonçalo?
Okay, great. So I'm 40 years old, happily married and with two kids, with two small kids. One is 4 and one is 2. I'm a communications consultant, an independent one. I have my own agency with a partner. We work for clients now at the moment. Before that, I did agency work. And I'm also a political analyst and political commentator on SIC Notícias, and now and again on some newspapers.
Okay. So, yeah, we're in a world where a lot is changing politically everywhere we look. I mean, it's crazy. That's a busy job to be a political analyst.
Yeah, it is at the moment, and it's quite worrying in a sense how you see the world, what it's coming into. I mean, with the rise of an extreme or radical right, but also on the extreme left, there's lots of radicalism also. So it's quite a polarized world, and unfortunately, with the outcome in the U.S., I don't think it'll get much better after the outcome.
Tell us a bit about how you got into this work.
So I majored in political science and international relations. I actually started more in the international relations area professionally, because after I finished my major, I went to work in something called Inof Contacto, which is where you go abroad. So I started my career in Africa in the cooperation sector. And I was in Angola, in Guinea-Bissau also. And after that, I also did a couple of electoral observations, one for the European Union and another for CPLP.
Mm-hmm.
Then I worked more in Europe. I studied again. I did post-graduations and masters in Brussels in European studies, and later on in Portugal in communication and politics, which is my two passions. So after this 6 to 7 years in the cooperation sector, both in the embassy and then in NGOs and in an organization called Planet Earth Institute, I came to communication agencies, which have been my life for the past 9 years.
And where are you from in Portugal originally?
I'm from Lisbon.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in Lisbon in Camtorique, and I'm born and raised. No, I lived in the US 7 years because my father's a diplomat.
There's the accent. That's the accent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not very British, more American. No, yes. But when I was 5, we moved to New York, not the city, but New York State.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up in New York, so I lived there from 5 until 11, and it was an amazing experience. I loved it.
Grown up in another place and then kind of gone to uni in Spain, you know, our Iberian neighbors, being in Africa, Belgium, these places, like how did that help you to appreciate Portugal And did it help you to see Portugal in a different way?
Definitely, definitely. I think that when you live abroad and when you have so many international experiences, you learn to appreciate everything that your country is and has that others don't. And I think that there's lots of things that Portugal has that are really unique and really Portuguese, and that we have also things that are really unique in a bad sense. But
Yeah.
I like to think that we have much more of a uniqueness and a positive side than the contrary. And even as a political analyst, sometimes since I've been here for the past 14 years, and it's not normal for me, being so long in a country, when I get too like critical of Portugal, I go back and I think, wait, stop. Look at the big picture and think about all the other countries and compare with all the other countries.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we don't do a lot in Portugal, is that
Yeah.
we don't look, even in politics, what other countries are going through to kind of be proud of where we are in certain senses.
Well, I wanted to ask you about America because you mentioned how you had this childhood there and um, playing in the street. And I mean, I've got a lot of, as you know, I'm in real estate and I've got a lot of American clients. And actually just yesterday on the phone, like quite a sad conversation with a gentleman who lives out in the Boston area. And he was just like, uh, in his words, he said, America's a third world country. Like so much has changed. What changes have you kind of noticed from what you remember as a kid being there
Mhm.
to some of the challenges that the country's facing today?
So many. I think that again, the polarization that we see is quite new, and it's quite worrying. I mean, you see two sides that I remember growing up that would speak with each other. And I even think Obama in one of his latest speeches before the election said that we used to be able to speak. And he mentioned John McCain and how much the respect was there, even though they had completely different views on what the path of America should be. And I think that that's completely lost, and it's quite worrying. I mean, when you look at this campaign and when you follow the campaign like I followed it through many news cycles, you see that there's a wall there. And
Looking for a home in Portugal? This break in Portugal, the Simple Life podcast, is brought to you by Dylan and his team of certified realtors at Portugal Realty. Portugal Realty offers the exclusive Simple Life home buyer program. Visit portugalrealty.com today and book your free call to find out more. Welcome to the Simple Life.
I've not spent a lot of time in America. So I'm speaking as an outsider, but with a lot of American clients, family over there, and you speak to people of a certain age in America, and they say, look, in the good old days, the Republican and the Democrat candidates were friends. Like they
yeah,
would run, they would have these healthy debates, they would have lunch together, they would eat together, and they'd spend time together. But their goal was the betterment of the country. And now you're seeing, for a long time now, where it's this, like you say, I think the right word is polarizing. Like there is this
mhm.
divided country on so many levels. But I want to come to the political stuff because we're recording this on the 7th of November. We've just had the results of the
Yes.
2024 elections. Bombshell for some, unsurprising for others, depending on which way you look at things. I mean, this might be a difficult question, but what do you think is the general consensus here amongst Portuguese? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think? What do you think the country, the first time, the majority of the country, the normal Portuguese guy in the street, when they saw the news this morning or yesterday, listen, Trump's winning. What do you think the general reaction will be from Portuguese?
I think that most Portuguese, and there was even a survey conducted with in all European Union countries of how they see a Trump presidency. I don't have here the numbers of
Hmm.
how big the survey was, how many people they interviewed, but in Portugal, like in this survey, 70 to 80% said that they saw and they didn't want a Trump presidency. They wanted a Kamala. So I would say most people are not happy with a Trump presidency because they see this in the same lens as I see it in a certain way. But also, they don't like the hate speech. I think that most people don't. But there's also a populist right in Portugal that is rising. And that's, I mean, I can't expect most people to be as informed as I am, or as probably you are also in a certain sense, and they're not. They don't care about politics. So they don't see this harm in the European Union and all that as we see it in the Trump presidency. But I would say that most people are against this president, would prefer Kamala president.
From your perspective, what should people know about Portugal from a political point of view?
Well, I think we're not a polarized country or completely polarized at the moment. I think we might become in a political sense, but I think we aren't. Here in Portugal, like the two main parties, the Socialist Party and the Social Democratic Party, PS and PSD, they're friends. I mean, they have people in the party where they speak a lot with each other and that continue having lunch and dinner and all that. So that's very important. I mean, when you not having that polarization, that political polarization where people can still talk and have family members that see things in a different lens. And when I hear from friends of mine that live in America, that's becoming an issue even in families. And that's a completely different level and very worrying.
Yeah.
But again, here it's not at all that close to that.
For Americans that are listening to this today and disheartened, scared, have been thinking about Portugal as a place that they might want to move to and be, why should they come to Portugal, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I think as anybody would say here, the sun. I think we have like 6 to 7 months of good weather in Portugal, and that's kind of distinct in Europe. The beaches, I love our beaches. I mean, even in the winter, I love our beaches. I don't know if you surf, Dylan, but it's
not well.
Well, I've surfed for many years, but I don't surf well either.
If you saw me shoulders down, you would see I do not have a surfer's body. Okay. There's reasons.
But I think that Americans that enjoy surfing or enjoy the beach, definitely this is the place to be. Also, as you said in the beginning, I think it's a very safe country with, again, I'm partial because I'm Portuguese, but I've been abroad many years, and that one of the reasons I've been here for the past 14 years is that there's things like the food here, again, the weather. I think that Portuguese people are naturally pacific and very welcoming with immigrants and with foreigners. I hope that doesn't change, but I believe it won't change.
A guy today could walk most places in Portugal. If he's wearing a Trump cap, no one's going to start yelling at him in the street. No one's going to start yelling at a woman that's got a Kamala Harris T-shirt. We just don't do that here, and this is something I think so important. And
even a Chega T-shirt.
Even that. I mean, we're talking about the guy from Chega. He's not my favorite person either. But I'm like, if I saw a guy, we just don't have that animosity and that aggression. And this is something Portuguese. You know, when you talk about things that are uniquely Portuguese, this is something that's beautiful about our country.
Yes, I agree. And having lived in Spain, and Spain so close, and it's a big difference because Spanish are very alive and very vibrant.
They spray tourists with water guns, you know.
In Barcelona, yeah.
The fact that we're a country that's been through so many different things, but there's a pragmatism to the way that we think. There's a common sense usually prevails, and that's quite refreshing. Gonçalo, what's one thing that you would like people to remember and take away from our conversation?
That maybe as a political analyst, one thing that I would like people to take away is that we need to go down on the polarization, especially the 4 years we have ahead. And I mean, Trump obviously has an impact on the whole world. And there's a tendency that polarization rises everywhere, and even in Portugal. But let's always remember that we need to take the temperature down. And I think Portuguese are good at that.
Yeah, and they're just good at being nice to each other, which is rare these days. A question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
I think that there's still a majority of the country which is just nice to its neighbors and that likes to be nice. And that naturally comes to the simple life, to the cafe life, to the working life, to every type of life, to the beach life.
We don't even get angry with our football coach when he leaves. When he leaves us.
No, we get a bit in the
and then we calm down. Yeah.
And then we calm down. Exactly.
Gonçalo, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've loved this conversation.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
And I'm going to let you call it.
Okay, that's a wrap, people. Thank you.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, and as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.